Hello, everyone, and welcome to €3
Let me know when
and
you're ready,
three
so I
euro,
can get a drink.
€3 and a liar. Um, the liar would be definitely Koshi.
I didn't know he could play liar.
I'm an outlier.
Mm.
An
Wait, are
outlier
we
is
live?
definitely correct. Yeah, you're gonna go get your drink?
Why didn't you say we were going live?
I did
When?
just now.
After we went live?
No, just before it.
I didn't hear that. Did you hear that, Funky?
Selective
did hear
hearing. Anyway, welcome to episode 14. As
Hold
you
on,
can
so
see,
I gotta get my
and
drink.
motherfucker. As you can see,
Oh, wait,
Zion
I had it
is
right
yet
here
again
the whole
dead.
time.
I'm gonna mute this
My
motherfucker.
bad.
We don't know what's happened to Zion. We thought maybe he was doing a Jesus and now he would come back in 3 days, but no, he's still dead. Rip. Rest in peace. Rip and
It was nice
pepperonis.
knowing you, Zion.
I'm sure
Thank
he'll
you
come.
for all the bullet heaven and idle game suggestions.
I'm sure he'll come back to us eventually, right, guys?
Hey, I told you yesterday. AIDS, cancer, or death.
Right off the bat.
Is that like a slogan for the Republican Party? Like one of those "Don't tread on me" things?
No, that's what Zion's got. It's one of those three things.
Zion's a
He's
Republican
been
now?
gone. He's now been gone for 3, 6, 7, 8 days now.
3, 6, 7,
like,
8 days.
You
Yes.
keep him counting in the calendar or something?
I am. I got it right here. Zion's death calendar.
Yeah.
Cry
One,
himself to sleep every night?
It's a reverse advent calendar.
So
I
yeah,
don't know what that means.
I don't know either. You could tell by the awkward silence that came right after it, and we were both sitting here thinking, "Yeah, a reverse calendar. That's right, Funky. Good one."
Better than your joke, so.
Okay, I
Ooh,
mean
he
that's
got you
that's a
good.
straight up lie, but all right.
He got you good.
How did he get me? Shut up, you!
See, my joke was already better.
Fucking stirring the pot over there, you son of a bitch.
Making loud noises is not a joke.
What crazy shit do we have to talk about this week?
Well, I've got my finale on Alan Wake 2.
That's true. It's true.
And
I've got my finale on Remnant 2, the actual base game, and I have played
You finished it?
a whole. Yeah, finally, I only had to finish the last boss, but not the DLC. I have started the DLC, and then I realized that it was time for Final Fantasy roulette run. So after 10 minutes, I stopped playing it, but for good reasons.
why don't you go ahead first then? Let's hear about Remnant.
Yeah, so
All right.
Remnant 2.
Take a small break from Alan Wake. What do you got
Yeah.
going on over there?
Well,
did
the final
you-
boss, of course.
All right,
Go ahead.
so right off the first question is it better than the first one? The first game,
Easily.
right? So it clears it. That's fine.
Yeah. It's but I bought it when it came out. I had to upgrade a gun, and by then I kind of played it for 2 weeks nonstop. So I took a bit of a break, and and the break took a bit longer than expected. But I finished the boss. I finished the part of the Two Kings ones. The only thing I'm 50-50 on, because I see a valid reason to do it, but I also kind of prefer the other reason, is now you don't have infinite trade points, and you only, I think the DLC upped it to 65, so you can't just put your points into everything anymore, which is fun for making builds and everything like that, but at the same time I kind of just like having everything, having dots in everything. But like I said, I'm 50-50. One day I'm like, yeah, I get it, and the other day I kind of wish I could have more points, but it is what it is. Overall, definitely a lot better. Just took the first game and build upon it and improved upon it. Yeah, combat's better. In general,
Does
the
it
skills are more fun.
does it have much of a story?
Yeah, but it's never been like you don't play those games for the story. So
I
it's
like the story from the first one.
some of the characters are, some annoying characters come back. Other characters are kind of, some are good, some are annoying. The story overall is pretty good because they've really played with having to play it multiple times and everything like that. So you kind of get one side, and there's worlds and items you have to get that literally takes making different choices in that to get a certain other fight, and then if you combine those two, which you can actually already trade for weapons, so if you want it, you might have to do it 4 times. Then if you combine two of those, you can make a even better weapon with a certain NPC and all of that. So there's fun stuff like that. The unlocking the no, this I already did apart from the last one that I just unlocked from the final boss, and of course the new one I haven't unlocked yet. But finding out how to unlock all of the archetypes, so classes and all of that, and seeing what mixes and all of that is really fun. The co-op works pretty well for the most part as well. I haven't done it since I reinstalled it, but for the most part, it worked. The only, I guess, annoying thing is, but that's not the dev's fault. That's the player's fault. If you join on a world and the dude is just standing still, and you're just like, okay, well, and if you keep on joining on it, it's like, no. So after a while, you learn like, oh, this guy is just standing here doing nothing. That's a bit annoying, but yeah, can't blame. Like I said, can't blame the devs for that. The
Question.
DLC.
Play, I think.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, actually, I was just gonna bring that up. The DLC. So I hear that they introduced a new class for DLC with the DLC.
Yes,
Some kind of like fire, like
the
wizard
ritualist.
mage type
Uh,
class.
yeah,
Uses like basically like the arcane elements and such.
yeah.
How is it? Have you played it?
I have not unlocked it yet, so I haven't played it yet. But I do intend to play it and mix it with some class with another class. Maybe the alchemist, maybe just healer. I'll have to play around with that. There's some other classes but at the moment I'm still leveling up engineer. So that's at level 7, almost at level 8, and the max level is 10. And then by then I would have both of those at level 10. Because I always pick one. It's if you have two archetypes, you level them at the same time. But if you have one that is already maxed out, all of the XP goes to the other one. So I kind of keep my tanking one that I have that is ranked 10. I keep that one so the other one levels faster.
Wait,
Uh,
clarify something for me. You said that you haven't unlocked them yet. Doesn't purchasing it because it's a DLC, doesn't that unlock it automatically?
no,
Or no, it doesn't. So
no,
after I purchase it, I still have to unlock it in game?
you have to find the item, and once you have that item, then you go
What?
to an NPC, and you can buy it, and then you have the class unlocked.
Huh.
And some of them are
What?
hidden and all of that. And it's fun. It's a little bit extra to do. Some of them are really easy. You just get the money, you buy it, and you upgrade it, and it's boom. There's that. That's the basic classes, so you don't have to do too much of it. Others you have to kind of go out and find the item and stuff like that. So it adds to it. I like it. I don't mind it since you have a good base for them, and you start by picking one of 4 or 5 depending on which edition you have, because technically this gunslinger is not available to pick if you start brand spanking new character, if you don't have the Ultimate Edition, you can't pick the Gunslinger, even though you can just
But you can unlock it.
in game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's
But
not.
if you like, I didn't pick. Yeah.
That was one thing I was worried about when it was first announced. Was like you have to get the Ultimate Edition to unlock Gunslinger, but it was just the start one. I was worried that it was going to be like an exclusive class just for the
Yeah.
Ultimate Edition, but you can unlock it, so that's fine.
Yeah. Like I didn't start with the Gunslinger, and I just unlocked it later because I was more interested in the tanky melee one, even though I've gone away from that now. But it's yeah, overall, and what I like about the new DLC that they've done, they've made a if you want to start it, you have a one shot, and they've kind of just done all of the levels that you can have in one big world, and you can play through that, and it's kind of a little bit more scripted than randomized, but you can only do it once. So once you finish that story where you kind of get the whole story for the first time, then it becomes part of the randomizer, and you can't really go to the one shot again, which is on the one hand kind of fun. On the other hand, it would be kind of fun to, if you really wanted to go through the story again, to be able to do the one shot. But I get it, it is part of being part of the randomizer. That's the whole thing. So it makes sense that it then gets pushed back into it. But it's fun that they at least like gave you a bit more of a cinematic, I don't want to say so, but story feel to it
Yeah.
the first time, so you can enjoy it a bit more and not have to hope you get the right bosses with all of the stuff and all of that. You just kind of get the way they foresaw telling the story, which is, I'm 10 minutes in, so I can't say too much, but so far I really like it, and from what I've seen, it's it's a pretty nice addition.
Yeah.
Overall, yeah. I mean, it's my second favorite game of the year, so obviously I like it.
Damn. All right, that's high praise.
No, but it's also exactly what I like in games. So
Yeah.
it's literally like
Hitting all.
injected into my veins, please.
Yeah, hitting all the right beats.
Yeah. Just like Alan Wake for Koshi. Boom.
True.
I also played a little Death Must Die Now, which came out yesterday in early access, and that's a bullet heaven meets, at least theme wise, a little bit of Hades, where it deals with the gods and everything like that, and they grant you power, which is, I played the demo, I really liked it. I Now obviously, since I own it now, I also played that, and I still really liked it. So if you
I like
like
the
Bullet Heavens
art
and the
style for
art style,
this.
yeah, the art style is really
Yeah.
great as well. It has some voice acting in it. Which is uh so far good, but it's not too much. But yeah, I like it.
Why don't you explain for the audience at home, all two of them,
Seth and
what's the
Kane.
difference between bullet hell and bullet heaven?
Bullet Hell is you try to avoid all of the enemy's attacks, and well, technically you do that here, but you have all the dots that they're trying to shoot at you, typically. While in Bullet Heaven, you are the one shooting all of the dots, and you are trying not to get swarmed by too many enemies, and
So it's kind
trying
of
to
the
kill them in time.
reverse.
Yeah, it's a reverse Bullet Hell. Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
All right, makes sense. I wasn't entirely sure myself,
Yeah.
since I don't play those kind of games.
Yeah.
I think the last time I played that was Asteroids on the Atari.
Yeah. Think of like all of the stuff you see with like those classic Game Boy and Nintendo games where you have like 50,000 attacks on the screen and you're trying to avoid it. Now you're the one doing the 50,000 attacks and trying to kill everything before it kills you.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I like it. The price at the moment, it's on sale. I think I bought it for €6
Yep.
20,
Yep. It's on sale.
and
10% off
I've
as a
yeah
release
yeah
price.
I felt it was worth it, but I was also already sold because of the demo that they did. So if you like that stuff, I'd say look up a video and have a look if it's your kind of thing.
It does look good. I'm
Yeah.
half tempted to get them myself.
Eh,
But you won't.
No, that
Yeah,
would
you'll be-
require me not being broke.
Mhm.
If I had the money,
Yeah.
I'd probably scoop it up because it does look good. It looks it's the art style alone that sold me on it. It looks really
Yeah.
like the visually it looks really pleasing.
It's also I haven't gone too far into it yet, but it kind of stages your levels in where you can't just be, oh, you have a shop where you can buy items,
Mhm.
but you can't just be like, oh, I've earned this much XP, so now let me add more life to it. You kind of gotta kill X amount of this, do this, do that to unlock to make your character better, which is kind of fun because that kind of makes it slower. And usually even though I love Vampire Survivor and all of that, but once you've kind of got all of the upgrades, it kind of you put it down and you're kind of done with it. Which you bought it for a couple of bucks, so fair enough. But this one is a bit slower paced in level progression, so means I get to play it more as well, which is fun.
Fair enough.
Okay.
That's about all I can say for it now because I only played it for like an hour or so. I've got 3 characters unlocked. I don't know if there's more. I mean, I'm sure eventually, but I can't say for sure if there's now. But I like him. I like it in general. Good art style, fun characters, fun combat. Can't ask for more.
True.
Okay.
That's about all I got for today at the moment.
Koshi,
Yes.
tell us about your full final verdict on Alan Wake 2 now that you've officially completed it.
At the
Despite the fact that I'm probably going to sound like a broken record, I will say this. Everything I said before still stands. And I don't remember if I said this on or off the podcast, but it's not just a game and it's an experience. I love the game. I love the ideas that the game portrays. I love the narrative. I love the characters, the writing, the music, 100% everything. Now that I've finished it, the ending, I've heard the ending is a bit polarizing for some people because of the way it ends. And I don't know if I should get into it here because it is kind of a spoiler, but it's not, depending on what side of the fence you fall on there. And that'll make more sense
What?
if I actually tell you what the spoiler is. Should I or no?
I don't know.
It doesn't give anything away. I'll tell you that.
I don't mind, but I'm
All right.
also never gonna
Well,
play it, so
all right. Well, just go ahead. There's a warning in case anybody who doesn't
Yeah.
want to
Okay.
listen
Okay.
to
So
this.
there's a warning. Skip ahead like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
All right. Starting now. The ending ends on a cliffhanger. That's the spoiler.
That's it,
And
motherfucker.
that's it. Well, I mean, even that is a spoiler. Some people will consider a spoiler.
Okay.
So I'm trying to play, safe here.
yeah.
Warning over. But if you're okay with that, I thought it was great because they do drop like a bomb in there that just makes you go, "What?" And then the game ends. And for those who think the game ends, it doesn't end. There is an ending after the credits, so be careful about that.
because it has two different endings. One is like the soft setup, and then the other one is the hard ending.
Okay.
So
Does Iron Man show up?
he does, and then he
Oh,
offers,
cool.
his assistance to, get the Hulk.
for General Thunderbolt.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, I loved it overall. To me, it's not just my game of the year. It's probably gonna be my game of the decade. That's saying a lot, but only people I think who can actually top that are another Remedy game, maybe Control 2, or Rockstar's GTA 6. And I think it might be GTA 6. So I say that, but I'm also kind of half kidding when I say it. That's just how much I love it that I had to say it in the first place. However, I mentioned this yesterday, so let me bring it back around. Somebody on Reddit brought up a good point on why they don't think it should be Game of the Year. And I say it's a good point because I had no defense against it. And he's
That is
kind
that,
of
man.
right. He or she is kind of right. The game sets up so much atmosphere, so much narrative, so much Twin Peaks, uh, Supernatural, X-Files, that a lot of the times, in fact, I would say most of the time, you're simply just walking around trying to solve puzzles and figure out what to do next. There is maybe 30% of the game is comprised of combat. In fact, when you first play the game, you don't even see any first combat until maybe an hour, depending on how fast you are, an hour or so into the game. And the first thing you fight is a boss.
Okay.
So based on that fact, what I'm getting at is it is a glorified AAA walking simulator for the most part, with very little gameplay. The gameplay is there. Even Skill Up in his review said turn it on hard to make it feel like a proper survival horror, which I did not. When I finished the game, on
You're a
Saga's
bitch.
character, I had so much ammunition, so much healing items, so much like get out of jail free cards, if you will,
Mm.
that not only was my entire storage filled up, my entire inventory was filled up, and I had to still leave extras laying around the map, which bothered me to no end. And I feel like the combat is much better than Alan Wake 1. Much, much better. It's a looser version of the newer Resident Evils, which that's why a lot of people call it like a bad Resident Evil clone, because Resident Evil did do it better. But at times it kind of feels like the inventory, for example, the game's not perfect. It feels like the inventory was sort of tacked on at the end of development. Like, for instance, you have the quick keys or quick slot, if you will, where you can press 1 on the keyboard and you'll pull up your gun, whichever gun you assign to that slot. Or on the controller, you push up on the D-pad and it'll bring out whatever is assigned to that slot. Here, they utilize that, but you even though it says in the beginning, you can put this on quick slot, you can't actually do it until you first do the combat, like an hour in, and the game doesn't explain that to you.
It's
It's
a bit
locked.
silly.
It is.
Yeah.
So it's locked. So it's like I'm watching all these I'm watching like John Wolf and Gab Smolders play the game. Some of my favorite horror YouTubers play it, and they're all sitting there in the beginning stages of the game, like trying to quick slot like their handgun or the shotgun they just picked up, and they can't do it because the game has it turned off until you reach a certain point. But at the same time, the game is telling you that you can do that.
Yeah, don't
So it's
say
like,
it until it comes up then.
exactly. So it's like, what?
Mm.
So I get
Can I-
there. It's not perfect, but
Yeah, that's an
go ahead. What are you
oversight.
gonna
No,
say?
but I kind of, this is like I said, I've never played a Remedy game, so it's a question, not a accusation. But I kind of feel like for most of their games, if not all of them, combat is just like, oh yeah, and we gotta, like, they make the game and then it's like, oh yeah, we gotta add combat, and then but combat is kind of like the last thing they come up with, because even with Control, like you can beat the entire game with one move if you wanted to. So it's kind of, it had more combat, was more in depth than most. But if you just, but by all accounts, just keep throwing the rock was still the best thing you could do in Control. So I kind of feel like it's kind of maybe like they build up the entire world, what they want to do, the story and all of that, and then it's like, okay, now how do we turn it into a game?
I will say this. It feels to me, and I'm being completely real here, not a Remedy fanboy, even though I am one.
Mm.
I got to keep it real. It feels to me like they are. All right, so here's a perfect analogy. An author is writing a book, all right, and he's studying how engineers will create a certain type of machine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just because the author studied that to put it in his book does not mean he's a freaking engineer.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is here with Remedy's games, they are master storytellers, master, types of creating a game in general. All right, they're
Yeah, and
able to.
atmosphere and all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Not and even the technical stuff too, like being able to
Yeah.
put the FMV coinciding with the digital at the same time, mixing both genres together. Not just like, oh, well, okay, well, let's just end it here. Let's load the new segment, and the new segment will be all FMV, and then let's
Mm-hmm.
stop it there, load the new segment, and it's all digital. No, like they're combining them both
Yeah.
on the same.
Yeah.
But they're not master combat developers. They're not id. They're not the Activision Call of Duty. Say what you will about those games. They do have some pretty good combat because that's all it is. They better get that fucking right at least. Uh, they're not masters at combat. Now, Quantum Break, and I also think it's partially because of the engines they use. Alan Wake 1 and especially Alan Wake 2 were not made for combat. So combat does feel lacking a bit. And I understand, like, I just watched the Yahtzee review on Alan Wake 2, and he said it was shit. I don't think it was shit, but it definitely wasn't great either. But then when you look at, like, Quantum Break and you look at Control, the combat is much more fluid there, much more easier to use, much more arcadey. It feels like a
Yeah.
proper combat game, but it also feels like they don't exactly have all the experience to sit down and see it all the way through to the end. And that's why, even though they can make a good combat game, you can still beat the game just throwing the goddamn rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it
So,
make you? Yeah. Does it make you either? Does it, kind of like, well, then either go the I don't remember his name, but the director that does the Detroit Become Human and all of that, where it kind of becomes a 3D point and click kind of God damn it, what is the Walking Dead kind of thingy
yeah, I know what you're
game,
talking about.
or actually invest and make the effort, because like you say, they are great at all of the other stuff, where it's kind of like a shame if you just hire some people that are good at combat then, and try to work with it and get a good system in there to make it an even better game. But I'm kind of like, since so far they haven't really been willing to do that, I'm kind of just like, yeah, just go the Detroit Become Human route, and where you focus on the story, you put some gameplay elements in there, but you don't really have combat or anything like that.
Well, here's the
But
thing, and
yeah.
this is why I think a lot of people might be judging it a little too harshly. Like when Yahtzee says the game is shit, or the
Oh, no, no, no,
combat.
no, no. Yeah. He
I
loves the
know what you're
game,
saying,
but yeah.
but the combat is shit, he says. All right, well,
Yeah.
what does that mean exactly? Does that mean that it's so bad as to that they should do what you're saying? Maybe go the Telltale route or the Detroit Become Human route? Or is it still serviceable, but it could just be better? Because after you've played something like Resident Evil, then you go and play Alan Wake 2, which is kind of the same thing, but doesn't do it nearly as well.
I think, to quote him, since we're kind of going off of his review, and check out their new channel, by the way, Second Win. But he said you have bad combat that is at least tolerable, or you have bad combat that is just annoying. And he
That
said
made me
this
laugh so hard.
that is this combat is just annoying.
Yeah, what was the example you used? Escaping from a house with Michael Myers on your tail versus
yeah.
escaping from a house, but you can't drive away because Michael Myers parked his car in the driveway.
Yeah.
That made me laugh so hard. No, I think he's being unfair to it because there was some really good combat moments. There just wasn't a lot of it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no fair.
Just like Alan Wake 1, there was a lot of combat in it. Actually, there's more combat in Alan Wake 1. But the combat then just wasn't that great because they were still, getting their thing.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the people, don't forget, that made Max Payne 1 and 2, who basically the entire game was based on nothing but combat. So I think the issue is not so much the combat, it's the engine that they're using. Because I don't feel like Alan Wake 2 had the proper engine for combat.
I like I said, I haven't played any of them, so I haven't even played a Max Payne, so I don't think I've actually ever played a Remedy game.
That's a shame. You should.
But I just kind of feel like I get and like I said, it is a feeling with Zero. And it's not a bad thing. It's just it's a shame because they are such a talented studio. More kind of a thing where you wish they would put in the effort. That they just, I don't want to say they don't care, but it kind of comes up as like that's like on the tier list, combat is like kind of last of the important stuff they want to put in the game, which is a shame for a talented studio like that.
Having played the games, I don't think that's it. I think it's more that they just don't have anyone talented on their. And I don't mean this in case any one of them are actually listening. No offense to them.
It's not the talent. It's just like it's a lack of experience on the team for it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like hire somebody.
If they don't have the experience, they don't have the talent.
No, I think they have. I think they have the talent. I don't think they have the vision for combat or the willingness to kind of put in the effort.
And Quantum Break
let's put it that way. Because putting a decent combat thing is a lot of work.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like
it's hard to fully commit to something that like the focus of the game isn't really the combat, right? It's the story and the way it's gonna be told to you. Combat is kind of, I would dare say, a filler between the story beats. Like, yeah, it serves a purpose, but it's like it doesn't need to be robust to get the job done. So maybe that's why they just didn't see any point in evolving the combat to something as I wouldn't say in depth, but like something like Resident Evil, where
like you said, Resident Evil does it better, kind of thing. Which is a shame because, like I said, it's nothing against them. I just feel like at this point, either properly invest in the combat or just be like, oh no, we're going the other route, like Detroit Become Human and everything like that, and we're just telling the story, and you can just go through it and live it through that, and you don't really have to deal with the combat anymore if you're just gonna. This is gonna sound mean, but if you're just gonna keep half-assing it, kind of thing.
Well, yeah, it's gonna sound mean. There's no other way to take that.
True.
Yeah, but it's not. I just feel like it's a shame of such a talented studio.
Well, I see. It's not a shame at all. I disagree with everything you guys are saying because I played the no. I'm talking now. One, I played the game, all of them. Two, I'm not listening to what some other YouTubers are saying, although I do take into account what they say. But I put that towards my experiences, so I'm not going to use words like half-assed or shame, unless I can actually say without a doubt that is true the fact.
Yeah.
I do not feel any of that when I play the game. A
That's
lot of
fair. That's
people said when Control came out that it felt very generic. That was the biggest complaint, that it felt generic. The combat in that game is actually very done well. All right. Yeah, you can use the rock over and over, and I even admitted that myself. But you don't have to do that. That is the ultimate Star Wars Jedi simulator.
Very done well.
That game, and it is. It's done very well.
Okay, that's better.
All right.
Very done well.
Yeah.
Didn't
Very
didn't
done
flow
well.
too
yeah,
good.
yeah.
It's done very done
That's
well.
how
Very.
that's how Ganon likes his steaks.
Exactly. So
What the fuck?
really it comes down to, if you don't like the game or you're not interested in the game, then yeah, they're half-assing it or it's a shame. If you like the game, then it's doing really well. And I'm not trying to, like stick up for Remedy. They're big boys. They know what they did.
No.
Criticism helps improve.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
And I've got criticisms of Alan Wake 2. It's not perfect. I had for a while, in one of my playthroughs, a tooltip pop up that just would not go away and was pissing me off.
Mm.
And then I had, I think I even told you, Funky, where I'm trying to 100% the game. I'm collecting all the words of power, and one of them still shows on the map. And I had to go back and painstakingly going through to figure out if I had them or not. And I think I have it, but the game didn't recognize that I had it. It bugged, it glitched, which pissed me off. So the game is not perfect. I admit that. But I think the game, what I'm trying to get to is the people who don't like the game, that's fine.
Mhm.
But the people who use words like the combat is shit, or it's a shame, or it's half-assed, and I'm not just poking at you, Funky. It's just those
No.
are words
I'm
that
just,
came up recently.
I'm playing more a bit of devil's advocate
Right,
than
I know.
anything else.
So I'm going to use those examples. So it's not
Yeah.
directed at you. It's just directed at
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
I feel like they're being a bit unfair. If you don't like the game, that's fine. If you think the combat is not good because you've played Resident Evil 4 and you thought that was much better, that's fine. But to say the game is like the combat is downright shit, like Yassi said, that is just somebody who's getting off on their own selves. The whole thing that he talks about in that review is being up your own ass, and he's pretty much doing that. He's pretty much doing that, and it's not just against Yahtzee. All reviews do it. I do it. Everybody does it. I do it.
How
I
dare
exaggerate when I don't mean to, just to kind of prove a point. But at the end of the day, either you're gonna love it or it is that camp. You either love it or you hate it. I personally loved it, and I cannot wait to see what more Remedy does. And I didn't mean for the whole review to go this long, because I
No,
already
it's
covered a
fine.
lot of this before. But yeah, I loved it, and I do not think that the big question is, did the ending shit the bed? I do not think so. I was surprised, and it left me wanting more in a good way.
Question about that though, because this was actually one thing that I was gonna ask, and it's based off what you asked, because you said they kind of introduced a lot of Twin Peaksy supernatural kind of stuff, and then with what you said about the ending without saying it again, does it feel like they don't wrap all of those up, most of those up within the game that they are doing with the introductions, that they're just introducing more stuff into the universe? Or does it still feel like a contained story? Kind of like, you have a movie that is part of a bigger franchise, and it kind of, the movie in itself, while you're entertained, it feels like it's more focused on introducing stuff into the wider world than just telling the story itself, or a bit of both. I don't know.
I will answer that with another analogy.
Mhm.
Imagine looking at the map of your hometown and then pulling back the map, and then you see, your state or region, and then you see your country, and then you see the continent you're on, and then you see the entire earth.
Yeah, like those universe thingies that
Yeah,
you do.
it kind of does that. So it
Okay.
does answer some questions, and it gives you satisfying answers, but at the same time, it's setting up a whole new world of shit.
Yeah, so a bit of
And
A,
then
a bit of A, a bit of B. Cool.
yeah, and then it pulls back, and then you're like, holy crap, we aren't done.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's the best way. I feel like that's the best way to do it, where you have
Yeah,
the satisfaction of an ending, but but all of the stuff you discovered still makes you excited to find out more about the universe that they're building. Cool.
definitely. And I'm also super excited for the DLC because the DLC I think is going to tie into Control, just like DLC's Control tied into Alan Wake 2. Because there's a lot of plot threads that they left that they didn't touch, that they
Mhm.
purposely left unanswered, and I can't get into any of them, spoilers,
Yeah, yeah.
but they left a lot of that unanswered on purpose. And then they're also going to introduce New Game Plus very soon. And when they introduce New Game Plus, they're actually adding in all new storylines and cutscenes. So when you go back to play the game through New Game Plus, they're sort of doing a better version of what Starfield did when you do New Game Plus, where like you've been here before, you've done this. Why are things the same? Why are they different? This should have been here when it's over here now, or this didn't happen when it should have happened. What's going on? Who's fucking with my universe? Type thing. So I'm actually
Mm.
really excited to do New Game Plus with that.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to touch it till it comes out on Steam because I think that's one of the biggest detractors with the game is that just like Control, a lot of people slept on it because it was released on Epic first.
Oh yeah, I already forgot about that. Yeah,
Mhm.
true.
So I'm going to buy the game again when it comes on Steam. Then I'm going to get all the DLCs. I'm going to go back and play through it. Hopefully, and I don't think it will, but hopefully my progress will carry over and I can start a new game plus, but I don't think it's going to because I don't think you connect
Mm.
to a server. I think it's just, what Epic it'll be a self-contained thing is basically what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. So what are you more excited for? If you had the choice right now, would you want them to make Control 2 or Alan Wake 3?
Control 2.
Okay, fair enough.
I fell because here's my reasoning for that. Alan Wake 2 and Alan Wake 1 are one part of the universe.
Mhm.
Control kind of envelops all of it. And
Yeah,
this is my MCU. This is my Star Wars
yeah,
universe.
yeah.
This is
If I
this allows me to see all of it.
yeah, yeah. I think you said it 2 weeks ago, where Alan Wake is kind of the SCP, where you that is the story of that SCP, whereas
Mhm.
Control is kind of the SCP Foundation.
Exactly. It's exactly what
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
yeah. Okay, cool.
So
So
yeah,
Gavin,
those are
what do
my
you want to
thoughts on
talk?
Alan Wake 2 and I really hope it does well at the Game Awards, and it made me fall in love with a whole new band, Poets of the Fall
Mm,
slash Old Guards of Asgard,
yeah.
Old
I
Gods of
don't think
Asgard.
I
Excuse me.
still don't think it's gonna win Game of the Year.
I don't either because of what that guy said made a lot of sense. It
Mm.
does feel like there's very little gameplay in it. It does feel more like a walking simulator.
And like you said, it is, you either love it or you hate it, which is partially why I kind of want them to invest into the combat a bit more, so it does have a bit more appeal to people. Because it could still be, oh yeah, it's a bit, but story heavy, but you get some cool combat as well. So that's like just another plus in their kind of thingy. That's why.
Yeah,
uh, but
I,
uh,
I do feel like when Control 2 comes out, it's gonna be more of the same. It's gonna
yeah,
have pretty decent combat because it's Control. It's more arcadey.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to
mm,
be you're learning more about the universe, you're getting hooked into the story, but the combat is regardless of how you look at it, the combat is still going to be lacking compared to the story and the
yeah.
overall narrative they're telling.
Which is fun, because for so many games it's the other way around, which is also fine. But sometimes you just have a game where you really want a good story, and the story is just kind of shit, but the combat is really fun, and you can forgive it for that. But it's one of those, you put it down and you kind of never play it again. Whereas, especially in your case, with Alan Wake and such, you really get invested into the story and everything, which is also cool, and of course a lot harder to do, especially
Yeah,
in gaming, because I think in general gaming stories are probably one of the weakest medias.
I'll be honest. I'm surprised that they haven't like written any books or anything on the side.
I'm surprised. Maybe this time they will. I'm surprised HBO hasn't picked it up yet, or Netflix.
Hey, I'd watch an HBO series.
Yeah, I would prefer. I haven't seen HBO in ages, but I would prefer a HBO version over a Netflix version as well. Because
HBO when it
like I
is
say,
usually
I would
pre-hit.
watch this. I would watch this as a TV show. I have no desire to play it as a game.
Right, right.
Because if there's like, and this is something for the DLC, but once all of the DLC is out and there's like a 2 hour explaining the story so far in the in the world of Alan Wake / Control, I would watch the shit out of that. But
Yeah, I would too.
as far as desire to actually play it, none.
So let me pose you guys a question. Unless Gannon, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, no, no. You guys have said everything about it, I think.
Cool.
So let me pose a question because this was brought up on another Reddit thread. And I mentioned this briefly yesterday. I said I was on the fence. I'm not really sure which side I lean on.
Mm.
Game Awards and other Game Awards, not just the Game Awards, Mr.
Mm.
Jeff Keighley, are coming up or already been up. Golden Joystick Awards had their awards already. Which, by the way, Baldur's Gate 3 won. Congrats to Baldur's Gate.
Yep.
Shocking.
Deserve it winner.
Should remakes be considered eligible for Game of the Year? Now, before you answer, let me elaborate a little more. All
Okay.
right. Take Resident Evil 4, for example. Resident Evil 4, the remake, they basically rebuilt the game from the ground up. All right. They improved on every aspect of the original. That alone is a merit in its own, and it basically became a big seller, bestseller, if you will. It revolutionized survival horror again, just like 2 did. 3 not so much. And maybe made a lot of people who fell out of love with Resident Evil fall back into love with Resident Evil again.
Mm.
I
That
think.
said, hold on. Here's
Right.
the other side of the coin, and then you guys can answer.
Hmm.
Because I don't have an answer for this. I
I
really don't
do.
know.
I do.
The other side of that coin, though, is it is an already established game, and they are basically, no matter how many improvements they make to it, it is essentially the same fucking game that's already been officially released.
Mm.
So, I ask you guys, should Game of the Year uh, allow remakes like Dead Space, Resident Evil 4 or 2 or 3, all the other ones that are coming now, like Silent Hill 2, should they be allowed?
I
You
think.
go first, Cannon.
I think a full remake, yes, but a remaster, no. I feel like there's a distinct difference between fully remaking a game from the ground up, even if it follows the same as what the original did. There's a lot more effort that goes into that because you're not just touching up graphics, you're like fully reworking essentially like I say, from the ground up. It's the whole code underneath is all new, and whereas like a remaster is just you're making it look more up to date and maybe runs on modern day systems or whatever. And I don't think I don't think a remaster really qualifies as a new game, whereas a remake because of what the potential is there is because you can remake an old game and make it completely different if you wanted to. But a remaster has to be
like Final Fantasy
yeah,
to
like
a certain extent.
pretty much. But whereas a remaster is you can't. You're literally just taking the original game and touching it up. Whereas a remake is entirely new, even if it follows what the original was doing, story wise or whatever. Because even with the Dead Space remake, the way you're interacting with the environment and able to traverse it is completely redone. Like the flow of the game is massively improved because of the fact that they redid the entire movement system. So I'd say that probably would allow them to qualify for a new release.
Mm.
Whereas if they'd just taken the original and just made it look a bit shinier, then no, it wouldn't have.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
think for
disagree,
me,
Funky?
no, I kind of, for the most part, agree. For me, I think to quick and easy way to depends on the effort you're putting in, kind of thingy. But it also depends, like you say, because if it genuinely improves the game, like Gannon did with the gave with the Dead Space example, where it just becomes it's the same but better, which I feel is also the case for the Resident Evil games from almost every opinion that I've heard, where it just takes a classic game and makes it even better, kind of thingy. So I feel like, yeah, but at the same time, then you have other ones where it's kind of because that's why I would say Dead Space, yes, Resident Evil, yes, the Demon's Souls one, yes, but then you have other ones like um the quote unquote remake of The Last of Us 1, where it's just like it's not really a remake, it's just like a remaster almost, where it's just yeah, now it runs on this system and you can use it on PC and other things as well. It's but it just kind of feels half-assed, so that's why I wouldn't count that one. But that's also just more, like I said, the effort they put in. If they wanted to, they could make a 4K all shiny new graphics for The Last of Us or Uncharted or whatever, and I would count it, even though those are a bit more cinematic. So it kind of just feels like it would still just feel kind of more like a remaster. But whatever.
See, the way I see it is like, if you made a game and you fucked it up the first time, and it didn't win Game of the Year, or it wasn't even like anywhere near a contender, but you went back like 7 years later, and you took the game, exactly the same story, exactly the same like playthrough as it would be, but you rebuilt it from the ground up to make it look better, it plays better, it flows better, it like everything works, it's not like a jank piece of shit. Should you then be excluded forever for all of time, never allowing that game to be a contender for Game of the Year just because you failed the first time around? I would say no. I think if you've put in the, like I say, the Funky says, if you've put in the effort and you've like you've basically went back to the basics and done it all the way, like a full game development, you should be allowed to have your chance to be Game of the Year.
Yeah.
All right, so let me put in a caveat here. What if after X amount of years, because we're on PlayStation 7 now, we're on Xbox 2 billion, alpha male,
I don't think they're gonna
and
make those anymore after a while. PlayStation included. PlayStation included.
they decide, oh well, let's re-release and remake from the ground up again Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
Are we okay with that? Are we okay with them basically re-releasing the same game over and over?
Is it? But is it? Is it the same game, or is it a rebuilt version of it?
Well, it's a rebuilt version of it, but you're playing the same game. And that's where the real crux of the conversation comes in. Because at the end of the day, I'm still fighting the same bosses. I'm still collecting the same loot. I'm still following the same tropes. I'm still following the same paths physically in the game or digitally in the game.
Mm.
I'm still doing everything I had to do in the first game. They didn't change enough of it to make it feel fresh and new as if this is a completely different or a new story.
That would
This
be
wasn't a
just
DLC.
that would be a remaster then, wouldn't it?
No, that'd be a
I
remake.
How?
I think
Remaster is Alan Wake 1, what they released 2
Mm.
years ago. What they did
Yeah.
was they took the original game and they just
and just
upgraded the
update. Yeah,
graphics
yeah,
and the
yeah.
sound. That's it. That's a remaster.
See, I think
Remake is Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space, where they took the game, redesigned all the combat, redesigned the inventory system, put on redid the graphics, not just freshened them up, but actually from the ground up,
yeah,
made new
rebuilt
graphics,
everything.
Yeah.
rebuilt everything. But at the end of the day, they still kind of made the same game.
Yeah.
So how many times do we allow them to keep putting out the same
It-
game as game of the year?
No, that's fair. I think it partially depends on
I mean,
technology and time passed.
I mean, shit.
'Cause-
Think of it this way: how good does a game have to be if it was to win it multiple times? Or
Yeah,
even
no,
be
but
considered
I
multiple
get
times.
I get Koshi's point, because after a while it's just like, let's say they
Yeah, I agree with him.
every 5 years they remake Doom, the original Doom, and it's kind of just like, yeah, okay, it does look more shiny, yeah, yeah, but it's still same level each time. That's why I partially think it depends on a just time passed. It's like the jokes they made about Spider-Man. Hey, Spider-Man is getting rebooted 2 years after the the previous one, kind of thing. That kind of, I mean. But I think if there's enough time passed and the technology has changed enough to warrant it, so it's not just a member berry, then it's fine. Because imagine, like you say, by PlayStation 7, odds are VR, we see it as a gimmick now, but by then, VR could have really
It won't be
progressed a
the.
lot way, and it won't just be a gimmick, and you can actually properly play games in it and everything like that. And they were to remake 4 again, but using all of those systems that we have at that moment, then I would still say, yeah, okay, fair enough. But if it's just in 10 years we're remaking Resident Evil 4 again, but not much has changed, and it's just another graphical upgrade, then I would be like, no, because you can only get so much credit for it. But yeah, I think that's where I fall. Depend if it warrants it technology wise, where it's alters the experience and makes it even better, then fine.
So then let me throw in a second caveat. This isn't a remaster or a remake, but
Is it
Cyberpunk.
retelling?
No,
Oh, okay.
Cyberpunk. They officially launched it in 2020. All right. They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were releasing. They went ahead and released it, no matter whose call it was. All right.
Mhm.
Just like Gannon said, if they released it and then they fucked it up, should they not be able to release it again? So now here we
They
are in
didn't, but they didn't.
2023.
But that was just an update to the game. It wasn't a. It wasn't a full. Like they didn't take the game from the ground up or like re-release. It's not like it's a new Cyberpunk. It is literally just an update for the Cyberpunk they already released.
Well, see, that's the thing. Is people can say the exact same argument with Resident Evil 4.
Ow.
Because the stuff that was updated wasn't anything story-wise. It wasn't anything narrative-wise. It was all just bringing the gameplay into the 21st century. That's all it was. When you really bring it down, that's all they really did, is they brought the gameplay into the 21st century. Because all the actual changes they made are very minuscule. All the big changes they made were to the graphics, which is what Cyberpunk did when they introduced the what do they call it? Path tracing, ray tracing, and all that. They went and added, they updated the AI a little. Same thing Cyberpunk did. They updated the AI for the police. They put in a whole new system for the police. Resident Evil 4, what did they do? They smoothlined the inventory system. Well, Cyberpunk went ahead of that and changed the entire way your inventory works, and added on features like being able to customize your guns, which was not in the original. So when you look at it from that aspect, wouldn't Cyberpunk also kind of be a remake?
No,
Why?
because they had to fix it, and part of the things you are saying is part of the fixing it. B, it's also just part of listening to player feedback and kind of taking points from your community and adding those in. But I do think, and I think we spoke about this last podcast, but I'm not sure if it was on the podcast or not, where I do feel like if Phantom Pain itself, the expansion, if you nominate that one, sure, but then just as long as you stick to Phantom Pain, you don't just go, oh, but and this if you don't make 50% of like how good they made the old game, then it's like, yeah, no. But if you talk about the story of Phantom Pain, how it felt, and playing the actual expansion itself, fair enough. But just going with Phantom Pain, but really just meaning Cyberpunk 2.20, then I feel like it's kind of a cheat. But that's why you have the thing of continuous games, and that's why it's, at least for the VGA, that's why it's good that they have those games. So games that have improved, like No Man's Sky is actually nominated for it, or maybe No Man's Sky is the community one, but like No Man's Sky won best continuous game at some point. If Cyberpunk wins that, or like best improved or best continued game that they've worked on, rightfully deserved to do that as well.
Well, wait a minute though. That contradicts what Ganon said.
Ooh.
Yeah, but Ganon is an idiot, so
Fuck you.
Obviously, my opinion is the best one.
All right, go
We all
fuck
know
yourself.
this.
He speaks the facts. We speak opinion, Ganon. Because Ganon was saying
hell?
because Ganon was saying flat out that if the game is released and they decide to go back 5 or 7 years later and fix it, I mean, and here Cyberpunk, they just did it 2 years, or they just did it nonstop after release. I mean, where do you draw the line between what's fixing and what's improving upon the game?
There was a difference between Dead Space and Cyberpunk.
Even
though they did the same thing technically, Dead Space, the original Dead Space, didn't really release in a piss poor state like Cyberpunk did.
Well, but your whole argument then is what I'm getting at with Funky, is that your whole argument is because one was broken upon release, then
no. Like Dead Space.
Well, you said yourself.
Listen. Dead Space released an entire, like, they basically released the game again, right? It was an entirely new purchase, whereas Cyberpunk is an update for the game that you already bought.
Oh, I had to buy it twice.
What?
Yeah, no, but that's not fair. That's not fair. Now you're cheating.
Well, it's not fair that Ganon says that the game was broken and they decided to go back 5 years later to fix it. No. No. Listen.
What do you mean you had to buy it twice?
No. Ganon, I did. I had to buy it twice. I had to buy it on Steam.
What?
Because he felt like buying it on Steam.
Because
he bought it on GOG and then he wanted it on Steam.
Oh, God damn,
so that's not nobody's fault.
Hey, we're not talking about me now, okay? We're not talking about me now, okay? But listen, Ganon said, all right, he said specifically, Is it wrong if they release a game and then they go back 5 to 7 years later and fix it? Well, how is that different than what Cyberpunk did? You keep bringing up Dead Space. Dead Space wasn't
But-
really broken when it came out originally. It did what they wanted it to do at the end of the day.
Hey, listen. I do think Cyberpunk 2077 should be allowed to run contender for Game of the Year.
Why?
And I disagree.
Why? Oh,
could
here we
disagree-
go. I want to
I mean,
hear
that's
both
fine.
sides. Let's go.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That-
No,
I-
we established already why I disagree.
That's fine. I think
Yeah.
it should be fine to run for it because fuck it, why not? It's not like it matters.
I think.
Di-
See, yeah, no.
Like, look, there was it basically essentially re-released. It just it was a 2.0 update, but it essentially was a soft second release of the game, and it's been done this year, and it's a big fucking thing that everybody's been playing again. So why shouldn't it be allowed to be like it was relevant this year? So why can't it be Game of the Year this year?
So what you're saying is they're allowed to get a second chance.
Yeah,
Okay, but what about games that didn't need that second chance, like Dead Space or Resident Evil? They didn't need that second chance. They had their time in the limelight. They released Resident Evil 4 in 1996,
yeah,
I
but
believe.
that's just plain.
Or
That's
was it
the other
98? I
side.
don't remember.
That's the other side of it. That's hey, we can make some money off these member berries, and in the meanwhile, improve it as well and introduce
Yeah.
it to an all new audience.
But on the other hand, why go and waste all these resources on rebuilding a game that's already been released and established when they could have put those resources towards a whole brand new game? Because
Yeah,
you
no,
said it
fair,
yourself, it's
fair.
money.
Yeah, no,
see,
fair,
Dead
fair.
Space is a
See,
weird.
I have yet to play a proper like one of those
Remasters
remakes.
or remakes, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I have not either. Just to make it official, I have not either. But
The
I've
one
watched
there's
a
one I
YouTube
would
playthrough.
consider. Yeah, there's one I would consider, and that's Demon Souls. But I'm just kind of like.
But I mean,
don't
even
wanna-
Demon
I
Souls
don't
was
want. I
mostly the
don't.
same game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I'm.
I don't even know
calling
if
it
you can call that a remake. That might just be a remaster. Because from what I understand,
Yeah,
I
it's a
could be wrong.
remaster.
No. That is built. That is rebuilt from the ground up.
Okay, it's rebuilt from the ground up, but at the end of the day, you're playing all the same bosses. You're playing the exact same gameplay that was on PS1.
I don't
you
know if
just
they
have
did though.
shiny
Didn't they
new
upgrade
graphics.
some of it?
They
some of the bosses do?
they updated
Yeah.
stuff. On they pretty much because rightfully so. Demon Souls, being the first one, it kind of do, and
a
it
bit
wasn't
jank.
really, and it wasn't really made for it because they're kind of halfway through was just like, oh fuck it, you try and figure it out kind of thingy, and they gave him a shot, and then he kind of created what we now know as the Souls games. So
Yeah.
that is one of the few where I'm kind of like, okay, fair enough, and I would kind of because they took all of the experience from all of the other games that they made over the years and kind of just gave some love to the OG one again and improved upon it, and just by even just quality of life and graphic wise and everything like that. So that's a fair one, and I would say that one when it came out, I don't know if it was nominated, but if that one was nominated for Game of the Year, I would have said, yeah, fair enough. Because they pretty much just they used the same engine, but improved upon it and kind of just made everything about the original game better. So that's a fair enough, but I get your point though, where it's like at some point you have to say no, and for me, Cyberpunk is definitely a no. I like I said, if it's just the expansion, fine. Just like if I'm nominating the Endwalker expansion for Final Fantasy, it's just the expansion. I'm not counting anything else from Final Fantasy. It's just this game from start to patch, and then once the next one comes out, that is only that expansion as well, and Endwalker won't count towards that nomination again. That's my opinion.
Dead Space is a weird one because I don't really understand why they remade it.
Money.
Because The original Dead Space was fine as it was, right?
It was. It's the same reason that they did all the Resident Evil games 2, 3, and 4 because money. It's
But I don't
cheaper
know.
to
But I
make
don't
a
know if it
game.
was about money because the devs were like working on it. Did like have a reason towards it. Like
No, they didn't.
No, they did.
No, they didn't.
They specifically wanted to remake the first game.
The devs that worked on the remake were not the same devs that worked on the
Are
original.
you sure?
Those guys are long. Yeah, those guys they shut that group down after two
But they might
started
have
to
been.
bomb and then 3 died.
But they
After
might
3
have
came out
been.
and killed the series, they shut that down.
They might have been. I mean, obviously, really big fans that wanted to, like I said, reintroduce it to a new audience, kind of the same way they. It's see that's the it's not really a reboot, but it kind of is at the same time.
Well, reboot would specify that there's more games coming. There's
Yeah,
no games
yeah.
coming.
But that's why I'm kind of like it's hard because reboot is also more of a movie thing, but it's kind of a reboot, but at the same time it's not because it kind of just because it has all the new shiny stuff, but then it's also still this for the most part still the same where if this thing happens, odds are it happens the same way in the new game and in the old game, which is kind of why it's a tricky one gaming wise.
So
But
when they when they do a remake like Resident Evil 2, yeah, I'm sure a lot of it is to like reintroduce the audience, but like no one needs to be reintroduced to Resident Evil. No
yeah,
one needs to
yeah.
be reintroduced to Resident Evil. There's still a big fan base out there for Resident Evil.
I think it's I have zero evidence for this as well, but I also think, like you said, money wise, what you like bringing that game because it's now also very focused on PC, and those were made for Xbox and PlayStation for the most part. I think
Mhm.
that space was also
Well,
available on
GameCube, but
PC.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm excluding that one because I think that started with PC, but the Resident Evil games were heavily console based, and I think the effort you would put into making it work on PC again versus hey, we have the engine of was it 6 or 7 where they started doing it, and we can just remake the old ones in this, and we kind of really know the engine. Where I kind of feel like the cost isn't that much higher than just working out the port and really trying to figure it out. Where it's just kind of maybe you pay X amount more, but it's not in big studio terms. It's not that much more, and you kind of have the new shiny, so you can kind of resell it and, like I said, bring it to new eyes. Because let's say if I was like 20 years old now and I looked at a game from 20 years old that I hear nothing but good stuff about it, but it plays like a 20-year-old game. Odds are I'm maybe gonna watch somebody else play it, but would I pick it up myself? Probably not. But if it then comes out and it has up-to-date combat and everything like that, where I could enjoy that game in the present day and not feel like I'm playing a 20-year-old game, then odds are I would buy it. So I think, like, once again, make money, but so I do think it brings not so much new eyes, but new people now willing to pay for it where they might have not been willing to do so before.
So when you take a game like Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8, building it brand new from the ground up, or 8 using 7's engine, the RE engine,
Yeah,
they're going to spend X amount of dollars. All right.
yeah,
When they take a game like Resident Evil 2 or 3 or 4, they're going to take the engine, they're going to take the original game, and they're going to start fixing it. They're going to start adding to it, they're going to start updating it, and the cost is going to be much less. Now, what that does is two things. One, It gets more people who weren't around 20 years ago to take a look at it because they might not, like you said, they might not be interested in a 20-year-old game, but they are interested in it in general. And now that they have an updated version out, they're going to want to look at that. So that's sales for them. 2, people who fell in love with the original games back then are going to want the updated version.
Yeah.
They'll buy it again. That's more sales for them. And those sales are going to eclipse the original cost of making that remake. And then they're
Yeah.
going to take those sales and they're going to put that towards making the next big new game.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point I'm making. Yeah.
Well, I know. What I'm saying though is that it is specifically about money, not about because this guy loved the game
Oh no, yeah,
or
no.
wants to love the game, but because it's 20 years old, he's not going to play it. No, we want his money. At the end of the day, these guys, this is a business,
But I
so they're
think
going to want your money.
Koshi, this is more. I think the original idea, like, which was the first one they remastered? Was it 3?
1.
1? Oh, was it 1?
Oh wait, you talking about the new remasters? It's
Yeah,
2.
yeah. 2.
Because
So I
they've
wasn't
released 1 like so many times. It's not even funny.
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure if it was 2 or 3.
It's 2.
Yeah. So I think that started as like a project of like somebody that really was a really big fan and wanted to kind of, like we say, introduce it and everything like that. And then it turned out to be a massive success. And so they went like, okay, let's give it a try, We will put the money aside for it. And they had a massive success on their hands where it kind of just reinvigorated the whole Resident Evil fandom, because let's be honest, before 7 they didn't really have that much. It was kind of like I don't want to say dying franchise, but it wasn't as popular as it was in its heyday. And then after making a shit ton of money on that, then it became like more money, please, and having a passionate crew about it that love the old games helps, and having a good engine helps. So it's a kind of, as long as they stay good, it's a win-win, because yes, more money, corporates are good, but the gamers also get classic games that they can now play updated, so it's good for them. So I feel like it's just a win-win in general, that started as at least was introduced as a passion project by maybe some people, that then got approved by corporate, and then obviously with the success, this is the best of both worlds.
But see that that's where I'm lost. Why do you immediately assume or feel that the project started originally out of a project of passion or out of the love of the game?
Oh no, I'm just
But I'm
guessing.
asking you, why do you feel that way though?
I
Like I know
think
you don't have any
it's not
proof
so
or
much.
anything.
Yeah, no. I think maybe not so much a passion project, but I feel like it was one of those, let's give it a shot. Hey, Final Fantasy is redoing 7. Maybe we should try that as well. And then there's passionate people maybe that were like, oh yeah, no, I would love to, and thus they got the funds for it. But also think, without Square Enix being like, oh, let's fucking redo the whole Final Fantasy 7 thing, odds are we wouldn't have gotten the Demon Souls actual remake. We wouldn't have gotten a Dead Souls remake. We wouldn't have gotten the Resident Evil ones. I think that's the one that kind of is like, oh yeah, we can do this again, and people are actually hyped about playing the same game again. All right, yeah, we
See,
can do that. We have classics in our catalog that we can do that for as well.
that's the problem right there. Is that how do I want to phrase this? Because I'm not outright attacking you. I'm not.
No.
But to
I'm also
me,
just
and
guessing.
maybe this is also just a capitalist in me talking.
Mm.
But you see, my problem here is this: that they video game companies are always looking for a way to make more money, whether it's loot boxes or
Yeah.
microtransactions. This has always been a thing. We've We've fought them back on loot boxes. We fought them back on microtransactions. Now, just hearing the word microtransaction is such a bad word that it'll just turn people off of a game immediately without even giving
Yeah.
the game a chance.
Yeah.
So they're always looking for a way to make more money.
Oh yeah.
Remakes and remasters are another part of that, because as soon as they did one remaster, they tested the waters, they saw that it works, that it sold, and you said it yourself. After that, Dead Space, Demon Souls, The Last of Us. Now all of a sudden, all the Silent Hill games have been announced. The first
Yeah.
one, Silent Hill 2, is coming out.
It's
as a
kind of like what
remaster.
happened with movies,
Yeah,
where
it happens
everything
with
had to be a
movies.
reboot.
Exactly, because they need to tell the same story, because the
Yeah.
original story sold, and it's cheaper this way than, well, who was it recently? Someone laid off 30% of their staff. The people that own
I mean, that could be literally
Remedy.
any fucking company, though.
I just
Are we
said the name.
talking oh, sorry. Oh, which one did you
Well,
say?
I didn't say the name, but they own Remedy, and
Oh, Embracer.
yeah.
No,
They
no,
just
no.
laid off.
Embracer
No, it's
didn't.
not
No.
Embracer. It's not
Yeah.
Embracer. But they just laid off 30% of their staff, and they have announced that they're going to stick to, for the foreseeable future, that doesn't mean forever, that just means for right now, they're going to stick to sequels only for their games, because it is much harder to make a new IP and have it sell well, because if it doesn't, they lose a ton of money. But if they already take an established IP that they know will sell, well, that's just a safer bet. That's like going to Vegas and,
Yeah.
so remakes are the same thing. So when I hear remake, I don't think, oh, it's a passion project. Maybe, I'm sure some of them are out there. But when I hear remake or remaster, I hear greed.
Cha-ching!
No, no, and
Cha-ching.
the passion project is more specifically towards Resident Evil than just all of them in general. I'm speaking more to Capcom and the people there, because I even though I've never, well, I've played demos of Resident Evil games, but I've never played a Resident Evil game to its completion. But I think it is a bit there. I feel like, because you see the effort they put in it, and they went above and beyond. Now, there's other ones where it's kind of
That's
like
a good
movies.
point. That's a
You
good
can.
point.
I feel it's the same with movies. You can see when it's a proper reboot and they really cared about it, whether it fails or flop, or you can feel when it's a cash grab. But
A blatant cash grab.
yeah, and I think for the ones we're talking about, obviously we only remember the good ones. And there's also haven't been that many of them. It's mostly been remakes, and those remakes have been shit, or ports to, kind of thing. Is just look at the if they properly remade, what is it, the definitive GTA edition of, like, what is it, 3, I think it was, or something like that. If they properly went and, like, oh, we're using the new engine and all of that, and we're building it from the ground up, and they re-released it, I would have said fair enough. But it, at the same time, you see what they did with it, even though it was a remake, so it technically remaster, so it technically doesn't do it. But look at how they launched it, and let's say it was a remake, but they launched it in the same state that it launched, just shinier graphics, then it would have felt like a cash grab, and rightfully so, because it probably was.
He does bring up a good point. Gannon, what do you think?
I agree
On what exactly?
on all of it.
See, I told you I'm right.
I mean, he's speaking facts, as you say. He's the facts guy. We're just the opinions.
Okay. So then, at the end of the day, let's make it official then. At the end of the day,
I had nothing new to input. I already
no, I
said
get
how
it.
I feel.
I get it. So at the end of the day, the big question was, should remakes, not remasters, but remakes, be considered for Game of the Year? And Funky, you said yes.
I said, yeah, depending on the effort, yes.
And Gannon, what do you say?
I agree. I think it's just an effort thing. It's how much they've changed and went to do it all.
Okay. I personally have no opinion, only because I see both sides of the coin
Yeah.
and I can't make my decision up. Like, I agree with you guys, despite playing, the devil's advocate. I do
Yeah.
agree with you guys, but at
Yeah.
the same time, I also understand why people think that it shouldn't be considered game of the year, because you are essentially playing the same game. They had their time in the sun, and it's time to move on. We're looking for new things.
Yeah.
But who made that rule? I don't know. So
Just look in this case. Technically, you could say Star Citizen. Not Star Citizen. No Man's Sky could be Game of the Year every year since it launched new DLC, and it just becomes better and better and better. But obviously, we don't do that. But it did win that's why I'm a fan of best continuous game, because that is the thing of here's your second chance to win quote unquote game of the year kind of thingy, because it
See,
proves
I
that
would
you have a good community and that the devs care to improve upon it.
I would go a step further. I would say that community-based game like that is something that's a live action, not live action, excuse me, live service, like say your Destinies or your WoWs,
Mhm.
or a game
Yeah.
like Cyberpunk that's being continuously fixed and worked on. And for remakes, I would say just have its own category, remake of the year. You know,
uh could
don't
be,
even
yeah,
call
but
it by year. Don't even call it by year, because there could be some years we don't have remakes. So just say if a
yeah,
game comes
exactly, that
out
was
that's a
what I gonna
remake,
say.
so then say, okay, well, here's the best remake, and then it happens to be in 2023, and the
You could
next one
do
happens
an
to be in 2025, or whatever.
you could do a just like uh kind of like they do with the Oscars and stuff like that, where it's uh, technically the lifetime achievement, or it's like, oh hey, here's an exception, because you could do like, hey, we really feel like this game improved a lot, and here's an award for it. We kind of feel like it deserves it, but we don't count it towards
So
kind of. But
like you
then
could say like it deserves a second chance.
yeah, but make it its own thing. But like you said, then if you don't have enough nominees, it just becomes its own kind of thing. It's like, oh hey,
Special
here's the demon.
recognition.
Yeah, like a special recognition, and or a
So
in
then by that,
hindsight.
so then by that,
But that's why
by
I'm a
that
fan of the
statement,
continuous thing.
wouldn't Cyberpunk then cover that?
That's why. No, I would say Cyberpunk, and I believe it is Cyberpunk itself, as in the main game, should not be nominated for Game of the Year, but it should be nominated, and I believe it is, for best continuous game. The expansion is totally fine to be nominated for Game of the Year.
Nominated.
Okay, so that brings a
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
Would you consider an expansion or a DLC to be game of the year?
Expansion, yes. DLC, no.
Explain.
An expansion is a proper expansion to the thing, whereas a DLC, I like Remnant too, but if let's say this came out in the next, fuck it, let's take the next DLC for Remnant, because that's gonna be 2024. If a really good just DLC that adds a new map and some new enemies and an archetype, that isn't enough to properly warrant it to be nominated, versus a expansion that continues the story, adds a whole bunch of it's either at least 50% of the adding 50% to a new game, depending on, obviously how old the game is. But it's adding a whole bunch of content to the game that is more than just a regular quote unquote DLC.
Okay, so expansion for sure, DLC no. You
Yeah.
think that an expansion should be considered, could be considered game of the year?
Yeah.
Gannon, what do you
But
think?
as long as you specifically stick to the expansion.
Yeah, but what?
Well,
What if the expansion is just integrated into the rest of the game?
Which most are.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking more like your. I'm thinking a bit. The easiest references is more MMO style,
Like
or
not
like
every yeah, but not every expansion is standalone. Like a lot of expansions are integrated into the base game itself, so you can't really
And I feel like it. Yeah. Then I don't feel if it's more
difficult
integrated
to
into the base game. Then I feel like no.
okay.
Well,
I don't
how
know.
integrated are we talking about? Because like you can't play
yeah.
Burning Crusade without buying WoW, and you can't play, you know, uh, what's the new Cyberpunk expansion? Whatever it is,
Phantom Pain.
without paying
Oh no,
for,
not Phantom
or
Pain.
yeah, without paying
Phantom
for
Liberty.
and playing Cyberpunk.
Yes, but if you're, I just feel like if you're counting all of it, then it's kind of then you're just reintroducing the whole game again versus just what the expansion is about. I feel like it should be somewhat narrow to, hey, we're doing this expansion, and it's a really good expansion, and it adds a lot to the game, and it's brings this whole new, for Cyberpunk, it brings a whole new story and all of that, and then in a new area versus, let's say, an Age of Empires expansion came out, and it's just like, oh yeah, here's 6 new enemy factions. It's like, eh, no thanks.
Again, what do you
That
think?
shouldn't be nominated.
I think that's a tricky one. I don't know either way. It's not that
Well,
big.
hey, we're here. We're here for the cutting edge opinions, so let's have it.
I don't know. I don't know either way. I think
I think just like remakes, remakes, it's a case by case kind of thing.
yeah, because yeah, like
Right, let's say
it's like
Motorsport got
like
an expansion, and it's just here's 500 new cars
because at the end of the day,
Well,
it's
that's
not
a lot
maybe
of
a
it's
new
not
cars.
motor
like
and a new motor play. That's kind of like, yeah. But if it's like here's an entire new island that you can play on, then it becomes
to
more like,
me
okay, fair
personally,
enough.
Well, what if the island is
it's not
bland and boring?
it's
I
not that
mean,
big a
what?
Well,
deal,
then it shouldn't
really.
be nominated.
But what if the cars are so detailed that it actually makes people want to start playing the game again? You know, or the cars are like so wanted that the interest in the game starts to grow again. I mean, who's to say where you have value in one item but not the other?
So I think at the end of the game, if you want to be nominated, that's kind of going off of a total package, not just one aspect of it.
I'll show you total package.
Oh, thank you.
What the fuck?
I'm
Again,
just
what were you
waiting
gonna
to
say?
see.
I think that it doesn't really matter that it's not really that big a deal at the end of the day. Game of the Year isn't really it's not that
Oh yeah,
serious. So
yeah.
we're like
That's not the
so we're trying
question,
to pick up this whole
sir. Sir,
like one way or
that's
the
not the
other, and really
question.
it's not that big a deal.
Like even in the end of the day, I don't really care too much about the VGA stuff
Oh
and everything.
my
Like
god.
the true one for me is the Steam one, and the Steam one has a lot of what we're
But we're
talking about.
covering
Like,
all of them, not
hey,
just
yeah,
GTA or
yeah,
GTA,
but
GVA, whatever.
but the Steam one is you can literally
VGA.
have a 10-year-old game that became popular, and that can be game of the year. Like
But that's
take Among
bullshit.
take Among Us. I think Among Us was nominated for game of the year, even though it was out like
But that's
3 years,
bullshit.
4
It had
years
its time in the
later.
sun. Moving on. If it couldn't win it then, it shouldn't be able to win it now.
No,
Unless they
well,
go through serious, like, remaking the game, like we discussed before with
yeah.
Resident Evil
Oh,
4.
I agree with you, but the part where I take more value in the Steam one is because it's voted on by a larger community, and the larger community also voted those games in. And I might
Yeah,
disagree with
that
the
larger
games.
community also downvoted the wrong Modern Warfare 3 game. So let's keep that in mind too.
Yeah, I'm not. That's what I'm saying. I don't always agree, but I care. I care more about the socialist where we're all one block, and yeah, we might fuck up
Did you say
nominate some
socialist or
stupid.
communist? I couldn't tell.
No, yeah, a bit of A, bit of B. No, but at the same time, it's like I'd rather have the widest audience cast the vote. I would care more about it. But at the same time, like the only reason I care about and care is saying a lot, but like about the Oscars and the VGAs, I want to see people. That's kind of like the quote unquote gold standard, and people that do make games and do make movies or act in movies and all of that, they feel like that is, if you win that, that is a badge of honor kind of thingy where you can be proud of that. So because of they care about it, there's certain ones where I'm like, yeah, I want you to win because you do. I don't really care about it, but you care about it, and the other people in that room care about it, and I do want you to feel you. I do want you to get that credit that you deserve. Like Baldur's Gate 3, whether they win if they win the VGA, I would say it's deserved. If they don't win, I don't really care, but they do deserve the accolade for all of the hard work that they put in. But at the end of the day, if it wins the Steam one, I put more value in the Steam one because that's more people in an entire community that cares about it versus I guess these days you can vote on the VGA as well, but to take the Oscars, it's a bunch of old people in a room voting on it kind of thingy. You know, it's like that's why I put more effort into ones that a lot of people vote on versus the ones some people like only game journalists and games dev get to vote on it. Then I care less about it because then you get the, at least, let's take it to the Oscars again. Then you get the Oscar bait. But at the same time, once you give people the option to vote for it, you get fucking Zack Snyder for Justice League winning an Oscar, which is kind of like, oh my fucking god, are you kidding me? So it's a double-edged sword, Both have their upsides and their downsides.
So, am I understanding this correctly when I say that nobody's going to watch the VGAs with me December 7th?
I didn't even know when it was happening, but yes, agreed. I haven't even watched any of. I also don't. What is it, Jeff Keighley or something like that?
Jeff Keighley, yes, his
Yeah,
Lord and Savior.
yeah, I don't even like that dude, and it's nothing against him or anything like that. I just his ideas for it and all of that. I don't care about, so I'm not gonna watch it. And his hosting style and stuff is not for me.
So, Gannon, I can count on your vote then?
Huh?
VGAs, December 7th?
Game
I know
Awards?
you'll be around.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna watch all of the show, but I'll catch some of it. Because they've usually got like it's not just the awards at that show. They've got like sometimes they give like first looks at stuff and
And you
other.
have amazing musical shows.
Well,
during it.
actually, that's pretty much what everyone watches it for, is the first
Yeah, the
looks.
trailers.
Yeah, like
Yeah, the
it's
trailers.
the trailers and stuff
Nobody,
like that.
they
Yeah.
don't care
So
about. And every now and then you have a guy from EA going "fuck the Oscars," which is also entertaining. But I can just watch those on YouTube.
yeah, I'm interested in VGA, but like most years, I don't watch the entire thing. I just kind of get the clips for the most part, or I'm watching it through like a restream.
Well, usually I post all the most
Yeah.
interesting video
If,
Yeah,
releases.
but
if
I
there's
mean,
like 50 uploads by PlayStation and stuff like that in just in like 2 hours, then I know an event happened. But yeah, yeah. I mean, I care enough about it where I want certain people to get credit, but then apart from that, like, oh, this game won, it doesn't deserve it. I'll enjoy it for a bit of the drama, just poking the bear a little bit, kind of thingy. But do I really care? No, I don't care.
I tell you what, it's on a Thursday.
Uh-huh.
We should do podcast on the Friday
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
and just talk about all the things that went down at the Game Awards.
Talk about how Alan Wake
Right.
2 won Game of the Year, and
But this implies that I should watch it.
and that they showed the GTA 6 trailer.
I mean, even if you don't watch it, Funky, you'll see the trailers and stuff like that of all the new stuff that's getting shown.
Probably. I mean, if it looks
Well,
interesting
it's
enough, I'll
in your
watch it.
Discord. How do you not see it? I mean, if you
I mean, just
actively
because I
don't
see
watch
it-
it, then you're
just
just being
because
an
I see it
ass.
doesn't
Why
mean
are
I'll
we even
click
here?
on it.
I mean, the stuff that I
No,
post is going to be stuff that's interesting to you,
No,
or
but
to
I'm just,
Gannon, or to Funky. No, you're
no,
Funky.
but if there's like, oh hey, here's a trailer for the new Modern Warfare, I don't give a shit. So I'm not
when
gonna
would I
click
post that? When would I post
No,
that?
no,
Nobody here
no.
plays
But
it.
I'm just saying, stuff. If that's quote unquote big news, like I'm not.
That's not
there's
big
certain-
news.
Fair.
Anyway, I want to mention one thing before we wrap this up. Do you remember we were talking about that Palia game? It was like it was like a slice of life kind of chill.
It was WoW without the combat.
Yeah, it was more like Stardew Valley.
No, it's literally WoW without the combat. That's literally what it is. Same
And
art
better
style,
engine,
same
I hope.
everything.
Yeah, it literally isn't.
Same everything.
But
It
okay.
just doesn't have combat.
Okay, well it's wrong, but okay.
Or-
That got released.
Does it have gold?
That got released, and I heard nothing about its release. I've heard nothing about anybody playing it either.
Is it full release or is it early access?
I know it got
Is-
early access, and I know a lot of people enjoy the early access.
It's
At-
full.
at
It's full release.
I don't know.
It's full release,
Oh, yeah, I haven't heard anything about that either.
but it's on.
Well, I think because
it's on Epic Games Store.
Oh, that explains it. That's why I haven't heard anything about it.
that what?
What?
What? But people were playing it on Steam, weren't they? The early access, I thought.
No.
Because
I think
Epic doesn't
it
do
was
early
their-
access.
I think it was no, they do.
No, they
But
don't.
I think it was. I think
What?
it was their. They do
Yeah,
do early
Epic.
access.
Are you talking about Epic? Yeah, they do.
No, they don't. They
Yes,
once
they
in a
do.
while they'll have a game that does
Um,
like a beta or something.
No,
But
they've
for the
got
most part, they don't have an
games-
early
No,
access
I've,
thing.
I've literally been
There's
looking at it through the podcast. They've got games listed on there. You click on them and it says in
Yoshi.
early access.
Koshi,
When was that added?
Darkest
I don't know. It
Darkest
must be a recent
Dungeon
thing, but
was Epic exclusive as long as it was in early access.
Who
and then when
cares
it came
about
to full
Darkest
launch-
Dungeon? No one
I'm
cares about
giving you
that
an
game.
example. I'm giving you a fucking example that was early access on Epic.
Darkest Dungeon 1? That was on Steam.
No,
Or are you talking
2.
about 2? Oh, I don't know about
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, see? Well, listen to what I'm saying, and I'm the facts guy.
but yeah. Anyway, Palia was released, and I
Well, you
heard.
said Darkest Dungeon, not 2. There's a specific difference between the two.
Christ.
If you say Darkest Dungeon, I'm going to say no, because Darkest Dungeon was not on Epic. Or
But
not
I
on early
believe
access
I
on Epic.
said Darkest Dungeon 2. If I didn't, my brain fucked up.
Anyway, Palia
I don't know, actually.
has
To be
been
honest, I was too
released
busy arguing.
on Epic. It was released
Mhm.
on
What?
Epic last month on the 24th, and I have heard nothing from anybody about it.
So where are these early accesses, real quick?
I don't know. Look on
I don't
the.
Because I don't see early
I-
access anywhere on Epic right now. I see
I
demos.
don't use Epic.
I
so
see
it's
don't-
not
coming
separ-
soon,
yeah,
alphabetical.
It's not separated in a category of its own. It's just like some of the games, when you click on them, will say this is in early access. Like some of the games will state it. Some of them, the same way it states under some of them that they're blockchain
Right.
NFT games, and I instantly click off them.
Those are the best. I think, but I guess it's kind of the same on Steam, where
No,
it's
So
Oh,
really, it's just a demo then.
I don't know. It's just saying that it's in early access. I don't know how they fucking classify it. But it literally says in
Well,
the
okay,
fucking
so let
things,
me ask
early
this then.
access.
Okay, being serious here. No longer not fucking around anything. When they release it and it's supposed early access, is it the actual game and they're updating it and you own the game, or is it just like a demo where they give you a slice of the game and then you got to wait for the rest of it to come out?
I don't know. Hold on. I'm trying to find because I did see a game and I've lost it now.
Because I'm looking for an early access game right now. Because as far as I know, Epic does not do early access.
I think it works. I would assume it works the same as everywhere else, but I don't
There
use
is no
Epic, so I
everywhere
have
else.
no
There's only
idea.
one other place, and that's Steam, and they do specific early access. They have a whole
No,
system built for it. No one else does.
doesn't the aren't there early access games on Game Pass?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
there's demos.
No, there's early
Again,
access
I'm
games
asking
there.
for the specifics. Is it a slice of life or a slice of the game? Or is it the actual, you buy the game, it's not done yet, and then you can keep playing it as they update it,
Which would be early access.
which would be early access. And as far as I know, Steam is the only one who does that. I could be wrong, and I don't know about Game Pass that much.
You are
But
wrong.
Epic, I'm pretty
You
sure
are
has them
wrong,
do that.
because Games Pass
Well, you keep
definitely
saying
does
that, but
have
you
them.
can't show me any proof.
I'm trying to fucking find it. God damn it, Jesus! Like, I'm sorry, all right? The Epic's Game Store is fucking garbage, and it's hard to find things on it. It is crap. This is why it fails to be a fucking direct contender to Steam. It's because
That's why
it
it
sucks
loses
ass to navigate this
that-
thing.
That's why it loses a $500 million
How about
a year.
how about less complaining and more finding?
I'm fucking trying, asshole. But like, I found it earlier. Where the fuck is it gone? I had it like a category of just free games that I was looking through,
Well,
and now I
fuck it.
can't find
Let me-
it.
Let me
Okay, so for if you want free games, that's you have to click store,
I have to go browse.
and then no, not browse.
Yes, browse, and then you go to free under the price. This is where I
Oh.
found it. It was somewhere around here. It was one of these pieces of shit games.
Because I'm looking at a lot of free games now, but they're the actual full game that's free.
No, this is just a blockchain NFT game, so we'll click off that one immediately.
Top sellers, most played, wish list,
Which one was this?
play for free, coming soon, top rated,
Is it
new
Starheim?
releases.
Yes, start right. Go to a game called Starheim.
Starheim,
Yes, Starheim.
STARHIME.
Yep.
Oh,
What are we talking about?
the Return to Moria. That's an early access one.
STARHEIM.
HEIM. There it is. All right, let's see. What
Scroll
we got
down.
here.
This is an early access game. It is still under development and may change significantly over time.
Oh, so I told you they were doing that.
Fucking Fuck, I'm gonna have a fucking aneurysm dealing with your shit.
So the game
Yeah,
is
man.
free.
Yes.
But
So I'm
anyway, back to
assuming.
your
So
failure
basically,
point.
what you're getting is you're getting the. So they're doing kind of the reverse of Steam, where you can play the game until it's fully released, and then you got to buy it.
I don't know how they're doing it. That's
Well, if
just one
it's free
example.
right now, they're not going to give it to you for free when it's done.
But they might. It might go into
No,
a
no.
free to play model after when it's done.
Yeah. Here's how they do it.
Or
You
it
play it
could.
on Epic, and then when it comes out on Steam, you actually buy it on Steam 'cause it's better.
Okay,
Anyway.
so Funky, what was the game you said? Return to Moria.
Yeah.
on
I believe that is early access.
It
and that
does
is
not say
Epic
anything about early
exclusive.
access. It doesn't say early access anywhere.
No, it could be. I haven't looked it up. I just remember that being.
I think that's a full
Epic
release,
exclusive.
actually.
Is that a full release? I thought it
I
was.
think it's a
early
full
access.
release.
Yeah, let's see. I'll have to.
I
Google
mean, they may be adding more to it as the game goes on, but it's not being sold as early access.
Yeah, I don't know.
Patch 1.0. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yeah, it's been released then.
full version. Okay, I thought it was early access. My bad.
So back to Starheim. What's going on with this?
It looks crap, by the way. It was just one of the games I was looking at.
Yeah,
and
I know.
remember
I know.
seeing,
I'm not judging the game or anything.
I just remember seeing it with like it had early access on like a box underneath. Game Pass definitely has them because it has it written on the thumbnails before you click on the games.
Yeah, you're right. It's the game Starheim is going to be free.
Yeah. Anyway, the whole point of me bringing this up originally was that Palia is weirdly free to play,
Oh,
and I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was going to be a buy to play game.
But
That
did I
means-
not look? Did I not look up that game on Steam? I swear to God, I did.
I
And now I
thought
don't
so
see it on
too,
Steam.
but I can't find it on Steam either.
What happened to Palia? I swear to God, that was on Steam.
I thought it was as well.
I think
I-
maybe it
but
was for demo.
But I
Demo
don't.
Fest, but
I didn't
I'm not
hear.
sure.
I didn't hear shit about that game releasing, and if it's free to play, I can't imagine it's.
How to play Palia on Steam Deck? Well, there we go.
Eh? Yeah, but you can play anything on Steam Deck. It doesn't have to be on Steam.
It's got high ratings. It's got 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I don't know then. But I don't know how I feel about it being released as free to play.
I don't see a cash store anywhere.
There 100% will be.
I mean, they have to. They don't just release a game for free, so there's got to be something.
Go to the store page, because if there is a cash store, then surely they would have it. It's part of its own launcher. Like you only
Yeah, that's what I assumed. It's kind of its own thing.
Well, it's also coming to Nintendo Switch too. And I only bring that up because the Nintendo Switch doesn't have a cash store for games.
But I feel like this is the type of game where looking cool does actually matter. Like it's not a combat game, so your achievements and stuff will surely unlock, or you would expect them to unlock cosmetics. But if they've got a cash store, then their incentive would not be to unlock stuff; it would be to put it on the cash store.
Yeah, I would assume it would have a cash store.
Or
It
like,
doesn't say anything about one anywhere.
or
may include in-app purchases.
or like
Here we
you're
go.
supposed to furnish your own house, and if it's free to play, then that just tells me that they're gonna sell all the good furniture is gonna be on the cash shop.
Hang on. Here, Koshi, this is a headline you would like. The cash shop is simply egregious.
I love it.
Oh my god.
It's apparently it's not very good because this is Polygon, so take that with a bit of salt. But everything is cash shop is out of control and it kills the Cozy vibe.
Yeah, I was just reading that they sell Palia coins in game, which tells me that it feels more like a mobile game at this point than anything else.
Which is a huge shame because
I think that's why you didn't hear anything about it because people just left it when they realized it got greedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a huge shame, though. I was looking forward to this game.
Listen, if you want to play that, if you want to play a game like that, you're better off going to Steam and playing what's the name of it? My Time at Sandrock or what's the other one? What's the big one right now? Coral Island. Coral.
Oh yeah.
Coral Island.
Yeah,
It's basically the same thing without the WoW graphics.
Like it was just the fact that I mean it's not WoW graphics because these look better than WoW graphics. But
Well, it's because it's updated, but it's the same art style.
It's also not hard to have better graphics than
the point was just that these were ex-Blizzard devs that went off to make their own little slice of life game.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, well, if they've left Blizzard, that means they have probably some talent.
Well, they took the right lessons from Blizzard.
But clearly,
it's all about the cash shop.
Yeah, apparently they've went the complete wrong direction with this.
It is a shame because you would think if they were smart, they would just have it be you offer a lot of it, but you you add in, like they say, furniture stuff, but you don't make it so egregious that it egregious, sorry, that it becomes annoying. So you just have that willingness to buy, make it cheap and have a lot of people buying it versus make it
Yeah,
expensive
because
and
it's
have a whole
clearly.
bunch of people go, fuck it, this is quote unquote pay to win, and leave it.
I would have preferred them to not do a cash shop, or if they had to, just make it very like convenience items, I guess. But
Yeah.
I'd have preferred they went with a buy to play model and just made it like not ridiculously expensive, because at
Mm.
the end of the day, this is a multiplayer incentive game. Like you'll
Yeah.
want to, you. This is the type of game you want to play with your friends. So
And
obviously,
even
so like one person buys it, and it's like they're gonna probably encourage like at least 2 or 3 of their friends to go and
heck,
buy it with them.
even if they kept it free to play, I mean, I'm a larger fan of buy to play as well. But let's say they kept it free to play and they did have the intention of really heavily monetizing the cash up. It's stupid of them to do it this early because
Yeah,
do it the Destiny route.
but that just screams to,
Assuming
that just screams to
it's
me that they that this was a s- I dare say a scam from the beginning, where they were basically just went, oh well, we know how to make a game, let's just go off and make this essentially a glorified mobile game and get some quick cash from it.
mm. But I feel
Like,
like they ruined their chance because they haven't even like it
oh,
hasn't
I
even
hope that this got like no.
it's
I'm glad that I've heard nothing of
mm,
it because of the fact that it's gone
yeah.
free to play with a cash
It's
shop
what
that's
is it?
intrusive.
That thing I saw is from late August, so they haven't even built a community to exploit,
Yeah, fuck them.
kind of thing,
If that's if
Yeah,
this, because well, it seems like it's just a cash grab.
yeah.
And if
Which is a
that's,
shame because,
it
like you
is a
said, it
shame.
did look good.
Because I was excited for it, and I thought it might be quite a chill game.
Yeah, and I've heard
But
a lot of people loving it.
if this is the route
So
they've
yeah,
decided to go with it, then fuck them. I hope it tanks
mm,
and they make no money from it.
yeah.
I've got
Because
no
the
love in my heart
important
for
part
this
is
sort of shit.
the important part is building a community, and then if
Hmm.
your community is willing to, they'll pay, especially if it's free to play. They're willing to pay a bit more. Uh, to be honest, for me, like take uh Digital Extreme with Warframe or GGG with Path of Exile. I think their cash ups are still a bit too expensive for some things where it's just like ridiculous, especially GGG. But I have spent money on those just because it's a free to play game and I like what they did, and I want to help them out a little bit, and give some money in return for all of the hours that I had fun with the game.
Yeah.
And if they then do that where it's still reasonable, because technically I really like Path of Exile and I want to give them a bit more, but all of the cheap stuff I kind of have, so now I have to spend like $60 on stupid cosmetic thing, a full cosmetic things, and I'm kind of like, yeah, no, fuck that. I can buy an entire new game for that, so fuck off. But if I could buy for $20, I could have like an entire bundle with all of it, and then I would have bought a bunch of them. Not all at the same time, but throughout the years, I would have bought a bunch of them. Now I'm not willing to buy any of them because it's
Yeah.
too expensive. So if you have that good balance, people are willing. And if it's just like it's a bit much, but it is a free to play game, and they are good devs, and they really care about the community, then people are willing to pay a bit more to because they feel like they're helping the devs. So with the right balance, this could have been a success, but they chose to instantly milk
They chose
they
greed.
milk the yeah instantly milk the player base that they hardly have because everybody left because they went with the greed.
Yep. I hope it's tanked. I hope it, if it hasn't already, I hope it
And being
crashes and
on
burns.
Epic alone doesn't help either.
I mean,
'Cause-
that probably because they took a deal.
Yeah.
to get
Yeah, no,
even more
yeah.
to get even more money from it. They probably took a deal with Epic to make it exclusive there.
Because what Epic exclusive multiplayers are really a big hit. I think there's Rocket League, and that's only, I mean, Fortnite, obviously, but there's Rocket League, which was a success before it became an Epic exclusive. And all of the other one, there was one game that I was looking forward to, and even back then, I don't quite remember the name, but it's the Monster Hunter one.
Yeah.
And that was really fun, but then it became an Epic exclusive, and I haven't heard anything about it again. Not even just like, because I don't use Epic or anything, but even from people that play Epic or just like people that love multiplayer games and everything like that, I follow Monster Hunter channels, so if it was really popular, you would expect to see it on there, but you don't even see it on there, so it's kind of a shame because even good games go to die there. Now I don't know about that game's cash up, so it might have been that might also be the reason for that. But it was a fun game that while I played it and while it was in early access, but then it
Just
goes
seem
to
like
Epic and it just nothing happens with it.
it does seem like Fortnite's the only thing that's really keeping the lights on over there.
I would say Fortnite and Rocket League. I would assume Rocket League is doing well as well, but everything else is just even just the launcher is a burns money because I think what is it? He lost 570 million or something like last year or something on it, or maybe this year.
I have no idea.
And this is including the free games, but I think it's it's a money pit. And I want it to be good, just the same way I kind of want the what is it, the game store or the Xbox store? What do they call it now? You changed so much that either way, Game Pass stuff, but the store for it. I want it to be good because it's competition for Steam, and that's good.
Yeah.
But I don't want exclusives, so I don't use Steam. That's the reason why I don't use it, and it's just a worse experience. But it's better for the devs because they get a better price, and hey, I'm all for that. But I'm against exclusives, at least on PC. I mean,
Yeah.
on other stuff as well, but money-wise, it makes sense to go with exclusives. And if you're investing a shit ton in making a console and building it, it makes sense. It makes a bit more sense why you would want exclusives. Even though I still don't like it, but because for consoles, there's still there's still a valid excuse to go back to Demon Souls and stuff like that. There's games that Xbox has, and there's games that PlayStation had that wouldn't have happened if they didn't say, "Here's money, make this for us, please." Versus if you're releasing it on PC, unless you are Epic or Valve, it doesn't really make sense to limit it to one launcher. It's like
Yeah.
Paradox going, "Oh, we're only doing it on our Paradox store." They wouldn't sell it another thing ever again.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna go
Anyway.
grab a drink.
Yeah, well, that was a shame for Palia, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're going to call it there. We will be back. I'm not sure, actually. Because if we might end up doing one on 2 weeks' time, and it might just be a bonus episode on the week after for the Game Awards. We'll see how things pan out. But either way, even if we're not back on the regular time, we will be back on the 8th of December, which is the day after the Game Awards, and we'll be talking about that. So we'll have plenty to talk about, because there'll be lots of new and shiny things being beamed into our eyeballs. So, yeah, thank you for chilling with us, people. We will see you when we see you, and peace out. Say bye, everyone. Bye. Okay. Don't say bye then, you assholes.